What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Join alongside Tim in Green Bay here to talk Packers Lions as we have finally made it to game day. Really excited about this matchup this evening. Before we get into everything, let's give a quick shout out to the good folks over at Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since '92, specializing in Packers tickets. They are Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Click on the link in the video description. That'll send you to their website, theticketking.com. Register there as a customer. Go ahead and start shopping for your Packers tickets. Again, that's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Tim, Bub, got some wind down here. I know you got the same thing going up there in the Bay. Hopefully the internet holds up, but if it does go out, we'll see you guys on the other side. That's the way that'll work. But how you doing, Bob?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. I got the diesel flowing this morning. Woke up feeling good. You know, the piss is hot.
Yeah, our guys better wake up with their piss hot, like I said before. So
today's the day. Thursday night football, prime time. Gonna beat the Lions. Let's go. I hope Packer Nation's tuned up out there.
Man, I'm fired up for this one, dude. What a great measuring stick. I think it's going to be a hell of a ball game. All the nation's eyes are going to be on this game. It's a great opportunity for the Packers to kind of stamp themselves and say, hey, listen, we're the real deal. We're a legit Super Bowl contender. I think most people believe they are. I believe that. But, again, when you get a chance to go out there and knock off the division rival, arguably the best team in the NFC, and you get to do it on prime time with the whole world watching, it's obviously going to propel you to different highs. I hope they go into Detroit and steal that dub and sneak out the back door like this, Tim.
And we go. We're out.
Bye, guys.
Just like that right there, man. That's what I'm looking for. And I think it's going to be a heavy dose of Josh Jacobs. They're going to be looking to probably load the box, take Josh Jacobs away. I'm trying to think of, like, from their defense standpoint, and we'll look at it here. Matter of fact, let's just jump into it right now. Why wait, all right? When we look at the coverage.
Let's do it, yeah.
The coverage chart here in the top of defense that the Lions play. Now, listen, we've talked, all week long about the Lions offense, and they're legit. They could very well be the top offense in the league. They're definitely top 3, in my opinion. This is the defensive coverages during the 2024 season. This is through week 13, okay? Notice on the far right, you got your EPA per drop back. The lower the number, the better. So in this case, the negative numbers are the higher on the chart. The Lions are second, actually tied for first in EPA per drop back at minus 0.09. All right, so they got a solid defense in terms of pass defense. Now, what do they do coverage-wise? It's a pretty dramatic difference from what the Packers do. According to this chart, the Lions play cover one man 40% of the snaps. All right, so they're going to be in a ton of cover one man. How do you beat cover one man? Crossers. You run those crossers concept. You can do it with slot cross as well. The dagger approach can work too. You just got to make sure you got a spot underneath to draw the linebackers under after play action and hold there so you can hammer the dig if indeed the post safety, if you're in a cover one man, gets over to play that deep shot. Now, you can work that as well with a front side dig. And as soon as that safety commits to the go on the dagger concept, you can hammer the dig underneath. There's a lot of different ways you can attack it. But this, as much as I want to run the ball, and we've talked about it all week, their defense is kind of weak against the run. There are going to be shots there, Tim. And if we hit on one or two of those early and jump out to an early lead, that could really be it could kind of duplicate what happened last year during Thanksgiving when the Packers just absolutely dominated that game. So, again, 40% cover one man. Their second most run coverage is cover 4 zone, all right? Third most is cover 3 zone, and then it would be cover 2 zone at 11%, and then it drops down to cover 6 at 4%, cover 2 man at 3%, and cover 0 at 2%. That cover 2 man, cover 1 man, and cover 4, those 4 defenses there make me do want to say, all right, press into the run a touch. So it depends on how they call this game, what they've seen on the tape from the Packers here recently, they being the Detroit Lions. But essentially what you've got is they run man coverage 45% of the time, and the rest of the time they're in zone, okay? So they do run more zone than they run man, but just to compare that to what you guys and gals are used to seeing with the Packers this year, we as the Packers defense play zone 55% plus 12. That's 67 plus another. So that's 75% of the snaps, if I'm looking at that correctly. Actually, it would probably be closer to 80% of the snaps. 80% of the snaps on defense were in zone coverage this year, if I'm reading this chart right. So you're used to seeing 80% zone from the Packers defense, and today you're only going to get about, from the Lions' perspective on their side, you're going to get roughly 50% zone. So big difference from the defense we've been running. Now, you want to know why we got a bunch of takeaways? There you go, zone defense, right? And I want to give a shout out to Dave Colvin. He has still got that charted for us over in our Patreon group. And I think it was, actually, matter of fact, I'll just jump back real quick. I had something else triggered up, but I want to read it off to you guys. We've gotten 11 interceptions this year, right? 9 have come in zone coverage, 2 in man coverage. So you like your chances of Jordan Love protecting the football today against a heavy man coverage team. You have the floor, Tim.
No, I think that sums it up, right? Detroit, obviously at the top of the list of teams that run a lot of man. And I think this is a game, first and foremost, this is a game, you talk about the Packers being contenders. This is the game that we're gonna find out who the hell this team is tonight, prime time, right now.
Yep.
This is the game. And not to add any more pressure, put any more behind it than what it is, but I think we as fans all know that we're really going to see the culmination of what this team's been building all year. That being said, I think it's a lot. I don't know if you're a boxing fan. I love classic old school boxing. You work the body, the head will fall. And I think what you got to do with Detroit, if they're gonna play a lot of man, we've got to exploit those tendencies. And it's not going to come all at once. And we can't keep thinking we're going to beat this team on one play. I love your mentality. Focus on your run game and then take those shots when they're there. When they're there, make them pay. And we've got to find a way to do that against both man and zone, because we know that they're going to do pre-snap sugar. We know things are going to look like cover one and they're going to change after the snap. So we have to find a way to stay balanced, I think, and not deviate too much from the game plan that we have set forth and what we're trying to do out there. Obviously, things change in a game. Things are fluid. We talk about how 4 quarters break down, focusing on winning the middle 8, things like that. But Josh Jacobs has to be the star of this game. This offense has got to run through him. Detroit, banged up or not, they're still a Dan Campbell coach team. They're still firing on all cylinders. They found a way to win last week. And, this is a team that you cannot take for granted, regardless of what, an injury report says. So I think we have to exploit those man coverage tendencies. And you're right. It's going to be dagger concept. It's going to be crossers. It's going to be play action darts. It's going to be, if they blitz, get the ball out quick, throw the swing pass, things that we've seen Jordan and the boys do consistently the last, 2 to 3 games. So we more of the same, I think, tonight.
Yeah. And again, it's going to come down to how they call this game. They may go zone heavy, right? Like really heavy. They know that we have access to this information. We, meaning the fan base, but mainly the Packers, right? Everybody knows there's no hiding what NFL teams are doing. It's just what they're going to do is they're going to look at our top 3 successful passing concepts, right? They're going to look at those route combinations, go, okay, what gives us the best opportunity to shut down their bread and butter? The beautiful thing about Matt LaFleur's offense is you've got that underneath to Tucker Kraft, right? The running game is what it is. If you don't fall behind, we were running the hell out of the football the first time we played them before we fell behind with the pick 6. If you're in the game within a score, you press into that run like you're saying, Tim. If for some reason you drop down by a couple scores, they're going to be looking to shut down these concepts that we're talking about. They may deviate away from cover 1 man. These are just simply the numbers that you're seeing. They run more cover 1 man than anyone else in the league. Now, again, it doesn't mean they don't run zone, right? And Ron Sample points out something great here. Reed had 5 catches for over 100 yards in our last game. They will be concentrating on him. If they do look to take Reed away, what you're going to see from Reed are those crossers. When we run slot cross, he's going to be running the climb, okay? When we're running the mesh or the mid mesh or the crossers mesh, right, the deep mesh, he's going to be one of those crossers, no doubt about it, right?
Then let's send number 9 on some number 9s, right?
Exactly.
Let's take the top off with Christian Watson. Then if they want to focus a lot of attention on Bird, let's let Scoot eat tonight.
And the way you can approach that is you can go trips and tray sets, right? Throw a slot cross in with a go route. Right. And what I mean by that is we're getting a little more creative with the tight end. I wouldn't mind to see them flex Tucker Kraft out. Imagine coming out in 11 personnel, flexing Tucker out to the wide side and let him run the dig. He can catch that dig, right? Yep. If you do that, then you could put Scoot in the F You can have Jaden Reed in the slot. You can run slot cross and have Scoot stretch it vertically. And essentially what you've got is dagger and slot cross on the same side of the field, and then have a couple leaks on the backside. Or even you could have Romeo, running like a little shallow cross or something, right, from that boundary X position. So there's a lot of different ways you could attack it, but I'm with you, Tim. This kind of, the closer we get to the game, I'm kind of feeling like, Kirby Joseph, one of their best players. We're going to get to the PFF preview here in a second. Matter of fact, we're going to get to the Patreon question here in a little bit. Let's do that right now. Since this is on topic, let's go ahead and hit the PFF grades. Let's see what their safeties look like here. Okay, I'm going to pop this.
That's what I was thinking, because we know safety is a strength in that defense. And if they're going to try and focus on Reed, if we can use Watson, to keep those safeties honest, and it's drawing that help because you have to respect Christian Watson's game, maybe that does free up Jaden Reed. It kind of puts them in a position where maybe they do have to play a little bit more straight up with us rather than sending help, because you can't send help everywhere all the time.
Right, exactly. So let's take a quick glance at this. I'll try to get it to where you guys can see it. It may take me a second. So let's go with their defense, their nickel against our 11 personnel, and you see their safety play is phenomenal, right? So you've got Kirby Joseph. Matter of fact, let's just go full screen, make it a little easier on everybody. You got Kirby Joseph back there. He's the highest graded safety in the league, guys. Whether you love him or hate him, PFF is saying he's having a better year than Xavier McKinney. They both have the same amount of interceptions. Kirby Joseph will come up and pop. I won't say I hate the guy. I dislike this guy as a player. All right, no, don't get me wrong. But you got to respect the fact that he's having a hell of a year. You guys remember Aaron Rodgers' last interception of his Green Bay career at Lambeau? Was it at Lambeau? I think it was at Lambeau.
Yeah, it was. I was there.
Kirby Joseph, right? He's the one who picked it off. Brian Branch, one of the guys that we were screaming for the Packers to take in the draft. They've got him. He's a hybrid safety, can play nickel as well. He's the fourth highest graded safety at 85.2. So with that being said, when we're talking about potentially running someone deep, you're playing right into their strength with that. Now, the way that you can approach it too, if they're in a cover one man, whoever that post safety is, he's got to make a decision. Is he going to clamp down on one of those crossers, or is he going to take that go route, right? And that's where it's going to come down to Jordan Love post snap read, looking the safeties off, which Jordan does a hell of a job of, right? His accuracy's improved here lately. His decision making's improved. You just don't want to get too aggressive going deep to Scoot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, this is not the game. This is not the F it, read down there somewhere game at all.
Exactly. So when you look at the weak spot of their game here, right, you've got Terrion Arnold, which, by the way, many people wanted him drafted by the Packers, one of the top corners in the draft. I was mentioning that he was high on my board. Don't get me wrong. Let me pull it up here. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you exactly where he was on my board. Terrion Arnold was the fourth best corner on my board.
Here's the guy.
And I remember Michael Lombardi going, hey, listen, Michael Lombardi goes down with Bill Belichick and spends personal time with Nick Saban all the time. They've got a real close friendship. They go down there and talk ball every offseason. They throw ideas back around. They throw coaches back and forth. Like Bill will go, here, take this coach. He sent Billy O'Brien down there to be the OC for Bama. They win a national championship, right? And Billy O'Brien comes back and goes here. Like they're constantly kind of interchanging parts when Saban was at Alabama. When you heard Michael Lombardi say, if you focus on the tape and look how Nick called his defense, he did not trust Terrion Arnold, and he didn't trust Kool-Aid McKinstry. Well, here you go, Terrion Arnold, 49.5, 108th graded cornerback in the league. Now, people say, well, why was he so high on your board, Clayton? I take my personal opinion out, and I input data that comes from multiple sources that I think are the best sources that we have in terms of, all right, here's where they've got him ranked. Here's where they got him ranked, that type of thing, right? We throw in combine metrics and all that stuff too. So the point is, if Terrion Arnold's on the outside, and I think it was Ron, I can't remember who it was. It was Ron or somebody in the chat yesterday pointed out that Terrion Arnold has got a bunch of penalties, right? Like 10 penalties for 160 yards or something like that.
Yep.
And now if you're in a cover one man, the way that you attack a cover one man deep is down the sidelines. So on the opposite side, you've got Davis III. He's the 16th highest graded corner, having a pretty good year there at Carlton. Davis III. But Tim, was he on the injury report? Let's look at this real quick. Carlton Davis III. He's full participation, so he's
going to go.
Yep, he's going to go. So that's going to be on the opposite side. So what you probably want to do is try to target Terrion Arnold's side, and also look at the slot. That slot corner in Robertson, right? Grading out at a what is his defensive grade? A 54.5. So
If they want to go middle field close, that's fine. We'll go up the seams, up the sidelines.
And what's going to happen is when they go middle field closed and they play cover one man, you're going to have a robber. And with that robber comes Branch or Joseph buzzing the box. And when they buzz down, when they come down and play robber, they're basically playing that middle hole. So when you run the mesh, when you run those crossers, the goal is whichever one that hole position, that mid drop covers, you go to the other guy. And you feel really comfortable that if you come out and let's say if you can get it isolated to where Terrion Arnold, if he plays predominantly on one side of the field, let's say he plays on the right side from the defense's perspective, like you see on this graphic right here. If he plays on the right side, then you want to make sure your slot right. So your tray and trips right. So your slot is crossing across the field, probably with Davis or probably with Robertson rather. And the other side, which would be your X, should be running a crosser as well. So you may see Scoot on a crosser with Terrion Arnold in man coverage if indeed they do lean on cover one man like they have. The point is you isolate Davis out of the play and you make whichever one of those great safeties is playing robber, you make him choose between one of two guys, and whichever one he chooses, you go to the other, because they should, whether it's Christian Watson, Jayden Reed, Romeo Doubs, hell, even Dontavion Wicks, they should be able to abuse Terrion Arnold and Robertson, the slot corner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that's kind of how you're seeing it from, how we need to attack their defense. You got to be careful, though, man. Again, you cannot negate the fact that Kirby Joseph's having this kind of year, dude. 6'1", 203, got good size, right? Still very, very young, obviously. 90.9 PFF grade. His coverage grade is a 91.1. So my man is playing lots out football. You got to know
where
this
is a game where we're really gonna we're gonna notice Rome not being on the field, and somebody's got to step up in this wide receiver room tonight and get the bulk of some of those catches, because his game fits the mold really well for how you want to approach this Lions defense tonight. And without him on the field, I'm looking at Dontavion Wicks. I'm looking at Bo Melton. Hell, I'm looking at Malik Heath. Somebody's got to step up and fill that void, because it can't just be on Scoot and Jayden Reed. It just can't.
Yeah. And with Romeo Doubs being out of this game, now you got to ask yourself, okay, how do you get Christian Watson isolated, Christian Watson and Jayden Reed in those isolation plays, right? Tucker Kraft's going to get his underneath, although when they're playing cover one man, it's hard to hit those leak plays to Tucker underneath, because they're eyes on their work. It's just there's not as much space as if you're running a zone defense, right? So when you look at Rome's being out, if Romeo Doubs is out, right, of this game, and we know he is, Christian Watson, Jayden Reed, so you need someone to stretch vertically if you're going to use Christian Watson in the X position. I think they will. To me, that's Bo Melton. Let Bo Melton be that guy to stretch the field, the defense vertically.
Yep. Fastest guy on the team, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you go to like a tray left or whatever, you're probably going to see some trips would be my guess, or you'll get a little nub flex. And what I mean by nub flex is put Tucker Kraft opposite the three wide receivers on an island by himself on one side of the field, and that'll allow you to get those matchups that you're wanting to run some of those mesh plays. It's being one guy short does suck, because when you're playing a lot of cover one man, typically the outside corners are playing over the top outside technique. Okay, and what I mean by that is they're not going to get beat down the sideline. They'll let you beat them to the inside, because they've got both robber and deep safety, post safety help. So if you're willing to let them have the middle, that should open up with slants, obviously. Think back to last year, the Jayden Reed, where we talked about them throwing that missile in his chest, right? There's one of those slants we're talking about. But also, the thing you're missing with Romeo Doubs is there's few receivers in the league that runs an out route with strong hands as good as Romeo Doubs. So we are going to be kind of missing that, his route running ability to put his right foot in the ground, pivot, run that out in a timing route from Jordan Love. So that's the way you want to attack cover one man, is try to bait them to bite underneath and then hit them with a double move down the sideline, or to get them to commit by stretching your stem vertically and then putting your foot in the ground and running that out route on the timing route. So anything else you want to add to that as far as what we're talking about here with coverage? Anything before we kind of go through the rest of these grades, Tim?
No, run the damn ball, please. Run the ball. I mean, just looking at these numbers here, okay, look at that D line and look at the linebackers, right? You want to soften up a defense a little bit. Pound the rock, man. I don't care. Inside zone, outside zone, whatever. Run a little duo, whatever you got to do. Let's get the wheels turning on the ground game. And, I don't care how great your safeties and your corners potentially will play. It's going to make their job more difficult, and that's all we can do offensively tonight.
And one thing about it, if you commit to the run and you start to become effective at it, what's going to happen is they're probably going to come out of that man a little bit. Now, you may not want them out of man. That's the tricky part, Tim. If you start running the ball, and they come out of man coverage, now the big plays in the passing game aren't going to be there. So there is a little give and take there. But if you start running the ball against that man coverage, they start peeking into the backfield. That's going to give you that half a step of play action. When they bite, especially that drop defender, whether they're playing a cover one drop with a backer dropping into coverage there, like say Campbell's having a hell of a year too, by the way. I mean, he's the 9th graded linebacker in the league, right? Is that Jack Campbell? Am I thinking about that? Yeah, so he's having a great year. Big old boy, 6'5", 243. He can cover the seam. And if he's playing that drop backer position, good to go. So what they may look to do too is bring the safety down like Branch. They may bring him down and help bracket Jaden Reed a little bit. That could happen too, and you don't even have that middle zone defender. If that's the case, then there's a lot of other ways you could attack that as well. But Jack Campbell, no doubt about it, got 76.4, having a hell of a year as well. This defense is littered with talent. In the middle here, that guy looked familiar too. Zadarius Smith looks like in the nickel they put him on the interior. He's rated out a 79.4 since they picked him up. Still doing the damn thing, obviously.
Making his tour of the NFC North.
Exactly.
He'll be a Chicago Bear next year.
Right. And then, of course, you've got McNeil here in the middle, 79.1, solid defensive tackle, 6'2", 315. He's more of your nose type. Got to watch out for him. I'm pretty sure he wasn't on the injury report at all either, right? No.
And neither is Zadarius Smith, which is interesting because dude's had a bad back for like 5 years. So, yeah. He's not 100% regardless. So I would look to go right at those guys in the middle, make them earn it tonight.
When you look at the snaps from Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, let's kind of see where they're lining up at, okay? So Kirby Joseph, 392 snaps as the free safety, okay? And then he's got 275 snaps as the post safety. Or I'm sorry, the box safety. I apologize. So the majority of the time, he is playing post safety, okay? Now let's see if the numbers match up there with Branch as well. With Branch, you see he plays slot corner. So when they go to nickel, he's playing slot is what it looks like to me.
Interesting.
I don't know how often that's happened, and maybe that's changed here lately. I haven't had time to dive into all the tape from the Lions, but he plays free safety 286 snaps, box safety 166, and slot corner 124. Keep in mind too, guys, sometimes the box safety and the slot corner are the same thing. Like it depends on if they're lined up over the number 2 or not is probably what determines whether that gets charted as slot corner as opposed to a box safety. So what I would do is take those two numbers there, the 166 and the 124, which would give you what, 280, 292 roughly, something like, or about 290, I think. So it'd be 290 snaps in the box / slot as opposed to the 286 at free safety. So the majority of the time, Kirby Joseph is going to be playing post safety. It doesn't mean they won't mix and match the same way we do, obviously, with Xavier McKinney.
I think if they do move him to the slot or any of these guys switch, they go to nickel, that's when we look to exploit the matchups, right? That's when you flex somebody over. You might move somebody around. You may check out of a play because you may only get those a few times, like you said. You know what I mean? And you got to take advantage.
Right. Coach Lynn in the chat said, I'm calling it. Wicks will have a big game tonight.
Let's go.
Hey, no doubt about it. He's the best route runner on this football team. And when you're in man coverage, you know it as much as anyone, Coach. That's the guy that's going to be able to create the separation. Let's hope he can hold on the football, right? And I know this, Tim saying run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Man, he has earned his money these last couple of games blocking. So you're going to see a lot of snaps, I think, from Wicks for sure, especially with Dobby being out.
I think we have to keep making a conscious effort to get him targeted. I really do. And let him play through some of these drop and hands issues. And because we know he can catch the football. We saw it last season. We saw flashes. he's only going to get out of this slump by playing his way through it.
Mm-hmm. Jason Y in the chat says Kraft isn't being taken down by no DB.
Yep.
Yeah, here's the thing with that too, Jason. If they're in cover one man, think of all the routes that we've hit Tucker Kraft on. The majority of them are underneath outside, and then the yak comes, right? So that's one of those things where if everyone else is in man coverage, their back's turned to the ball outside of the linebacker drop or the safety robber along with the post safety, you've got one-on-one opportunity for yak on the outside. If, again, I'm going to keep saying this because just because they run more cover one man than anyone else in the league doesn't mean they're not going to deviate from that with the game plan. But if that's the case and you get a lot of cover one man and you can get the ball to Tucker Kraft underneath outside, that right there is the matchup you're looking for, Jason, is Kraft isn't being taken down by no DB. It's going to be a DB having to tackle him. It'll probably be Branch or Joseph. If you're in cover one man, they're going to come down and they're going to be covering Tucker Kraft. So that's the other aspect of this is if they come down and they're in man coverage on the 2 or the 3, or they want to specifically match up one of their safeties on Tucker Kraft to take him away, well, guess what? They're no longer playing robber. That means the other one's playing post safety, and you're going to have someone else playing robber. If that's and when I say robber, I mean, like the drop, cover one drop, or the backers actually dropping that mid curl zone, right? If that's the case and it's Jack Campbell, you got to be careful there too, right? But I'm with you, man. You attack underneath outside, especially on those elite plays with Tucker Kraft, and let a DB try to tackle him. That's the way it should be. So, all right, that's a pretty extensive look at their secondary and their nickel. If we go to base real quick, let's see what their base defense looks like. Just a second here. So obviously Turner now comes into the game. That's Ezekiel Turner, 6'2", 214. He's a little light in the loafers there, isn't he, man? At 214.
Yeah.
Washington Huskies. Obviously He's been in the league since 2018, 45, 35, 55, 49, 63, 39, 62. That would kind of suggest, hey, why not press into 12 a little bit? You might want to do that. Also, the defensive line gets a little weaker. They kick Zadarius out to the edge. McNeil stays inside. Those guys are good to go. But on the opposite side, you got O'Connor. And obviously, this is what we're talking about with them being back banged up. Patrick O'Connor, 46 PFF grade. And then, of course, Muhammad on the other side is grading out as a 60.8. So those are the guys who are going to get their opportunity, evidently, according to PFF, because of these injuries. And again, we talked about the other day, you had like 7 defensive players that have been put on IR since the Packers last played the Lions, on top of 4 players that are not on that IR list that are out for this game. So,
yep. And that's why I stress the run, because I want to see that Detroit defense with their hands on their hips all day, because we can talk about the shift changes all you want. The depth is not there simply from the injury standpoint. So if you can make these guys have to grind, get tired out there, who's rotating in? They only have so many guys, and, fresh legs or not, if you're down to 4 or 5 on the depth chart in your position groups, that's a advantageous position for us to be in,
Yeah, Carson Caldwell in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. He says, need that Kraft on Kirby matchup. Hey, that's another way to approach it, right? I think many coaches look at it like, all right, we got to be aware of this guy and that guy. But then there's another thing like, hey, Tucker, listen, it's you and Kirby. Go out there and own his ass today, right? Like that's a real thing too, right? As the old Belichick quote, players win them and coaches lose them. And then, of course, you got the other quote there, when the game's on the line, think player, not play. We like our guy against their guy, and let's just throw the matchup out there and go at it. It's definitely a way to approach it, too. I know this. I'm with Carson. We all know Tucker Kraft ain't backing down. I don't care if it's Kirby Joseph or Charles Woodson back there playing safety. Tucker Kraft will be ready to go. Now, he may not succeed. He may not have a great game, but he's not going to be intimidated. That's what I love about Tucker Kraft, man.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely.
All right. Daryl says, hey, listen, everybody calm the hell down. Calm down. I woke up this morning knowing and feeling the Packers got this. All right, Daryl, man. That's what I'm talking about.
From a fan right here.
He said, I'm going to get me some jitter juice, fry me an egg real quick, and don't worry about it, guys. We're good to go. So, all right. Let's look at their offense real quick, and then we'll kind of get into the Packers offense, if that's cool with you, Tim. Now, obviously, they run a pretty even set here of 11 personnel. They run more 11 personnel than 12, but they lean into 12 quite a bit. I think they run the most 12 in the league, if I remember correctly, from the personnel standpoint. But when we go to their offense, here's their 11 personnel. This is arguably the best offense in the league, right? You got at quarterback, you got Jared Goff at a 76.6, 15th highest graded quarterback. Jahmyr Gibbs is the 10th highest graded running back at 81.6, just an absolute stud back there. To me, the game plan needs to start with stopping him and make Jared Goff beat you in the air. And they can do it. Don't get me wrong, man. Amon-Ra St. Brown, as good as they are at the slot position. Matter of fact, he's probably the highest rated slot receiver at an 87.6. You got to focus on shutting him down while shutting down the run. I like our chances, just like in that last matchup at Lambeau Field. I know it was in the rain, but you've seen Jared Goff didn't have any interest in throwing that football in the rain. If we don't throw that pick six, and I've said it 1,000 times, I cannot stress how important that one play was in a game. If you don't throw that pick six, I think Goff is worried. I really do, man. And you got to get after him today. You got to make him feel uncomfortable. Don't worry about Goff scrambling. You guys know I was hesitant on Sam Darnold. Like, hey, listen, Sam Darnold, he can scramble. There's many people going, no, we should pin our ears back and go after him. The problem with pinning your ears back today is you're going to give up extra wide rushing lanes if you do that to Jahmyr Gibbs. So you got to be patient, put them in a third and long situation, press that pocket, and make Goff move from left to right. You don't want him to be able to step up in the pocket.
Yeah, and look at that look at that O-line, right?
Solid.
Right now, Zeitler, Penei Sewell. Okay, yeah. Well, look at the left side of that line. Look at his blind side tonight. You know,
Skipper
and Glasgow. It's like, man, let's exploit that. That's the one little. If you're going to find a weakness on this offense, there it is. It's the left side of their O-line.
Yeah. This guy right here, Dan Skipper, is going to be filling in for Decker at left tackle. Okay, his grade 50.9. Look at this mug shot up here too, Tim. Looks like the guy that used to pick up the trash back home in Kentucky. Man, this guy, I mean, no offense, Dan Skipper, but that's a face only a mother could love right there. I wouldn't say it to his face, don't get me wrong, but left guard Glasgow, 6'6", 315. Oh, by the way, Skipper 6'9", so he's got some reach on him. Don't get me wrong, but Graham Glasgow 6'6", 315. He's grading out at a 57.7. So I see what you're saying, Tim. What they'll probably do is try to fan the protection to the left in passing situations. And if I were them, I'd be running right all day long, man. That's just me. So Ragnow, second highest graded center in the game. Zeitler, second highest graded guard in the game. Penei Sewell, fourth highest graded tackle in the game. That's as good of an offensive line. You're not going to find many offensive lines in the NFL that have 3 elite grades of the 5 offensive alignment. And keep in mind, Aaron Decker isn't even playing. They probably have 4, and I don't know what his grade is. Probably not elite, but it's pretty good. So it'll be interesting, man. Got to figure out a way. To get through that offensive line, especially if you get them in those third and long situations. Now, at the other receiver positions there, you got Patrick on the outside of the 70. Opposite him, you got Jameson Williams, which listen, say what you want, whether you like him or not. I know he's done some stuff on the field that makes you scratch your head. But this year he's having a hell of a year, man. 72.6 as a third-year player. That would be, I think, our second or third highest graded wide receiver on our team. So just think of it in that context. They can burn you, man. They can burn you with this receiving core. There's no two ways about it. And you could tell why they like to press into 11 just as much as they do 12 here. Sam Laporta is now grading out as the 20th best tight end. We know he's one of the best tight ends in the game. There's no two ways about that. Last year's rookie year, 77 was his PF grade. This year he's taking a dip back, but still 69.1, pretty solid. Snap counts holding strong. Last 2 games, 67 snaps and 66 snaps. So he's as healthy as he's ever been here as a young player. And that receiving grade of 73.4, that's definitely what he does. Isn't it amazing, man? This dude, how old is this guy? How old do you think he is? 23, 24?
Yeah.
Yeah. He looks like he's a 46-year-old construction worker, don't he? Look at this. It's just funny, man. All these players kind of look like Dan Campbell. It's like he went through and said, I just want a bunch of me out there on that field. Maybe that's why they're playing good football. But, anything else you want to hit here in terms of their offense and 11 personnel?
Yeah, paging Lucas Van Ness, Kingsley Enagbare, Rashawn Gary. We need a hell of a game out of you guys tonight for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all I have to say about that.
All right. Let's move along to base real quick. Let's go to their 12 personnel. And so when we go to 12, obviously one receiver comes off the field. It looks like they keep Jameson Williams and St. Brown on the field for the most part. St. Brown being the Z, which makes sense. You get more motion out of the Z. And then Williams will be your X. Now, that U tied in is going to be Brock Wright. Nothing to write home about, 55.7.
Here's another guy, CEO of his own plumbing company.
Yeah, exactly. They all look the same, man. These look like just angry, middle-aged white guys. So hilarious. So his grade, like I said, 55.7. Now, he's obviously inline 321 snaps. He's just that U that's going to attach. Let's see what Sam Laporta snaps. Inline 368. So they put him in a slot occasionally, 94 snaps. They put him out wide, 78 snaps. So they will occasionally try to flex that Y and create a mismatch outside. And really, it does a couple of different things. You can get a mismatch with a shorter backer on someone like Sam Laporta out wide, but also if that backer follows them out, then you know it's man coverage. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone there. But all right, that's pretty much the PFF preview from the Detroit Lions side. Now let's pick up with the Packers defense and see how we're grading out here. Doesn't look good on PFF, but we all know the takeaways, everything. I feel like the Packers defense has been solid. They're a legit top 10 defense in my opinion. What you've got is Enigbare 61.5. They've got him listed as a starter over there. We know LVN's going to be behind him in that regard, most likely. Rashawn Gary's at a 69.1. Kenny Clark 52.5. TJ Slayton 44.9. Nothing to write home about there on the defensive front, obviously. Keyshawn Nixon's now up to a 64 PFF grade. Valentine, opposite him, is a 53.3. I'm going to pull this up real quick because you see that and you go, oh, man, that's pretty rough. Right? I can't pull it up yet. I'm going to do it in a second. Remind me, Tim, to hit on something with Valentine. We're going to go to the Twitter page here in a second. But that 53.3 looks horrible. I'm going to show you guys another way of looking at it as well. McDuffie, 56.8. Quay Walker, 58.1. Eric Wilson at a 74.6, the 13th highest graded linebacker in the game. You're going to see a lot of Eric Wilson today, I believe. Javon Bullard, 57.5. And, of course, Xavier McKinney is sitting at an 89.6. Now, they don't have Evan Williams in here for whatever reason. It makes no sense to me. If we trigger it here, you can see with the nickel, Evan Williams is actually a 75.5. So
here's the guy.
It's two defenses that are similar in that regard with, man, they got just a dynamic duo at safety, right? But Kirby Joseph grading out as the highest graded safety in the league, and Xavier McKinney being second there. So let me do this, man. Let me pop this down real quick, and I want to show you what I was talking about here real quick, Tim. If I can go to my Twitter page. There was a couple things I wanted to hit on here. We'll kind of scroll back to it here in a second, and again, we're just going to do a normal time show here because we're going to be doing a pregame show in a little bit as well. So if we comb up, I'm trying to think of who. I think it was our boy Jacob Morley that tweeted it out. Here you go. Check this out. This is really cool. So it says how often the defender is allowing a reception per snap. Okay, so they're on the field for a snap, and how often are they allowing a catch on them? All right, Jair Alexander 15.8, Carrington Valentine 14.7, Keyshawn Nixon 12.6, and Eric Stokes 9.7. So you do the rankings here. Jair Alexander, obviously not playing today, but he ranks 10th out of 108 qualifying cornerbacks. So when it comes to receptions per snap on the field, Jair is 10th in the league. Carrington Valentine, 20th. All right. Now, if you go down here and look at this box down here, it says how often the defender is targeted per snap. Carrington Valentine, 11.3. That's 4 of 108 cornerbacks. All right. So just interesting to see. I know the grade looks bad, but when you look at Carrington Valentine from different perspectives here, you don't come away going he's a bad corner. If you remove the PFF grade altogether and you looked at this, you go, hey, not bad, right? Now, Eric Stokes, that's a different ballgame, obviously. But so we'll see what Carrington does, man, opposite of Keyshawn on the other side there. Does that kind of surprise you or what? Because I know Carrington's willing to stick his nose in there and play the edge there against the run. But this kind of caught me off guard a little bit. Like he's having a little bit better season than maybe PFF is suggesting.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be the first time, right? Sometimes the grades don't reflect what we see. You know, they see things we don't know what their formula is for some of these metrics. But I think CV's having a solid year, a decent year. And I also think, you know, maybe we're in a good spot here because Keyshawn and and Carrington Valentine, man. Those two guys right there, they're wired for this type of a game. You know what I mean? Those guys, like you said, fearless. They're not afraid to get in there. They're not going to be intimidated by anyone. I'm just looking for disciplined play. We don't want any stupid penalties, nothing extra, those kind of things. But yeah, it's going to come down to how they're covering. We've already talked about Keyshawn kind of taking us by surprise playing on the boundary. I did not anticipate seeing him play out there as much as we have this year,
right?
And B, seeing him be as good as he has been on the boundary. And Valentine too, I think, is kind of coming along here as a young DB. And hopefully we can get something out of Stokes Jr. too in a supporting role, because it's going to be corner by committee today without Jair out there. And I think CV certainly has the ability to have himself a hell of a ball game today.
Yeah. Drew in the chat says, not to be negative, but Stokes is as bad as fans have been thinking, according to this metric. I hate to say it, Drew, but I couldn't agree more, man. You just got to – I still don't understand them splitting the reps, with Eric. Like the stat we talked about the other day, 999 snaps, and you don't have one pass breakup or one interception. That's it's a tough number. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. You're not being negative there, Drew. Appreciate you trying to keep it positive. But, yeah, it's no doubt, man. It's a rough look for sure. All right, let's hop back now and look at some of the stuff that we came across on Twitter, and then we'll wrap this big bear up. Again, like I said, we're going to be doing a pregame show. So ML Football put this out. You guys know I've been keeping up with LaFleur's winning percentage. He looked at it from a different perspective here, and he says, history, the Packers head coach Matt LaFleur has the second most wins in NFL history by a head coach in his first 6 seasons. So we talked about the winning percentage. He's now tied for 9th in the league, in league history, in winning percentage. And now you're seeing a stat here that in his first 6 seasons, he's second in the history of the league in most wins. I thought that was really, really cool. It says LaFleur passed Hall of Famer Bill Cowher, Mike Holmgren, and Andy Reid. Legendary start. So put some spec on Tupac LaFleur's name, no doubt about it, man. Next, we had this right here that came down the pike. This was NFL on Prime. You guys know that's where the game's going to be tonight. It says the Packers head into Week 14 with one of the best offenses and defenses in the NFL. Their offense ranked 4th. All right, now listen, they probably take a bunch of metrics and put them in. We always try to break it down a little bit extra for you guys. We'll show total yards. We'll show points per play. We'll show rushing yards per attempt. We'll show you passing yards per attempt, all that stuff. But they're saying 4th overall offense, 10th overall defense, and then in the pass they're 10th, and then running the ball they're 5th. So a legit top 10 across the board here, both offensively and defensively. It's going to come down to who game plans better. And like someone said in the chat, I think it was number 1 Packer fan said, I don't care if you win by 1. It's too far back. I apologize. I can't find it. But so I don't care if you win by 1 point, 2 points, whatever you got to do to win the football game. And that's what this game is going to be, man. It's going to be scrappy.
Absolutely. And this is what we talked about all throughout the offseason, preseason training camp. We talked about, one of the things we needed to get over the hump is a legit top 10 defense to go with this high-powered Matt LaFleur offense. I'm sorry, Tupac LaFleur offense. And, you see it right here, the tail of the tape, right? So we're at 10. That's good. Yeah, PFF, you look at the PFF numbers on some of our guys and you think that's a top 10 defense. And again, it's not. It's like number 1 Packer fan said, it's not always about those metrics. It's not always about, the stats. It's about one game at a time and finding a way to win. Who cares? I don't care if, we've seen it. We've seen games where they don't play particularly well and they find a way to win. And, hopefully that's not the case tonight. Hopefully we play well across the board. But at the end of the day, this is that time of the season where you've got to be scrappy and you've got to find ways to leave these games with a dub in the dub column. And that's what we need tonight.
Yep, definitely. So this next tweet, Adam Schefter tweeted out, I don't know, roughly an hour before we went live. He said, heading into tonight's pivotal Packers-Lions game, no other NFL team has more than 7 defensive players on injured reserve. Detroit has 13. And I just quote tweeted and put, talk them up, then bang. Here's why they may lose. Cracks me up. So, obviously, the Lions are kind of the darling of the league right now. Everybody wants them to kind of, continue this run. Everybody's banged up. Now, listen, I don't remember a year where the Packers defense was this banged up. But, again, you better not overlook them. They're missing linebacker Alex Anzalone, defensive lineman David Bada. You've got linebacker Derek Barnes, defensive lineman John Kaminsky, defensive lineman Marcus Davenport, defensive lineman Aiden Hutchinson, defensive lineman Nate Lynn, safety Melifanu. You've got defensive lineman Kyle Pico, cornerback, rookie cornerback Enos Rakestraw Jr., linebacker Jalen Reeves-Maben, linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez, and defensive lineman Mekhi Wingo.
Major names there.
Yeah, major names.
Major names.
And like Drew says here, 7 defensive linemen and 4 linebackers is rough. I mean, you're talking about 11 guys that typically play in the box. Tim, what did
we're
you
over
say?
here crying about being thin at corner.
Right, exactly.
They're thin all over the place.
Yeah, and they're really thin in the box. Tim, what did you say the game plan should be tonight?
Pound the freaking rock.
There it is. Yeah, I can't think of another reason more than looking at that injury list for sure. And again, they got to show up and play, man. You can't just think, oh, they're going to roll over. That is not.
Yeah, games played between the lines, not on paper, right? Got to do it out on the field.
And then obviously we already hit on that one there, and that's pretty much we're all caught up. I just wanted to hit on a couple things that came down the pike earlier this morning here on game day. Green Ranger in the chat says Tupac LaFleur's about to hit him up. I see what you did there, Green Ranger. I see what you did. Tim, is there anything else you want to hit on, man? We're at the 46-minute mark. Again, guys, we're going to be doing a pregame show roughly an hour and a half before kickoff. You guys make sure you're subbed to the channel, like the stream, so it help boost the algae for us, and y'all swing back through for that. But, Tim, you got anything else, man?
Yeah, looking forward to Josh Jacobs cracking the 1,000-yard mark for the season tonight. Can't wait to see it. Hopefully it happens in the first quarter. Go Pack. That's all I got.
Heck yeah, man. I know he's excited about this game. Hearing his interview at his locker the other day was really cool. Like he's all about proving it to his teammates that, hey, these divisional games, especially in the back quarter of the season, this is when you really earn the respect of your teammates. And I'm excited to see him get the rock tonight for sure, man. So I guess that's it. Actually, the Patreon question real quick I wanted to get to. I definitely didn't want to negate that or neglect that, I should say. Trevor Anderson in there said, hey, Clayton, if we beat the Vikings and Lions and ended up in a 3-way tie record-wise, do you know who would take the division? It might depend on whether the Lions' other losses comes from division or NFC, AFC opponents. A 3-way record tie might boost our odds over head-to-head ties with the Lions or Vikings. So, Trevor, I'm going to read it here real quick. I've got the tiebreaker pulled up. You're saying 3 or more clubs. So if it's a 3-way tie, it's different than a 2-way tie. So I'm glad that you specified that. 3-way tie, it says if 2 clubs remain tied after 1 or more clubs are eliminated during any step, tiebreaker restarts at step 1 of 2 club format. If 3 clubs remain tied after a 4th club is eliminated during any step, tiebreaker restarts at step 1 of 3 club format. All right, and here are the steps. First thing, let's say they're tied across the board, Vikings, Packers, Lions for the NFC North, right? You go head-to-head, all right? So you got the head-to-head matchup. Now let's take it a step further and say, what if the Packers end up beating the Vikings, they end up beating the Lions, so now your record is split. Now you go to step 2, which is best one-loss tied percentage in games played within the division. So then you go to what is your win-loss record within the division, okay? Next, step 3, if that's exactly the same, which it probably won't be, to be honest with you, but if that's exactly the same, step 4, best one-loss tied percentage in games played in common games. Then step 4 goes to conference. So essentially what you've got is head-to-head first, okay? Then it's division record, then it's common games, then it's conference. And then after that, it goes strength of victory in all games, strength of schedule in all games. I don't think we've gotten to step 5 in a very, very long time with a 3-way tie. So that makes sense, Tim?
Yeah, as much as that can, right? I mean, hopefully we don't see a 3-way tie, but you never know. Hopefully that just gets it done and we sneak away and run away with it, you know?
Yeah, that's me, man. I'm excited to see if they can do that, because it would be, to me, if you're looking at the last week or two and you're looking at a situation where you've got a 3-way tie in the North, man, that's going to be exciting. That's going to be really exciting. And regardless of whether you win that North or not, if you proved, hey, we can have the best record in the NFC or tied for the best record, that creates some momentum too.
Yep.
Packers, right?
It all starts tonight. none of this. We're not going to have these conversations unless we get it done tonight.
The moral of the story,
Jacobs north of 25 carries, please.
Yeah. The moral of the story is this, and we'll wrap up. Tonight's game in Detroit on the road is a playoff game.
Yep.
That's essentially what it feels like. And, man, what else can you ask for other than a playoff game on December 5th, that playoff atmosphere? That place is going to be so loud, right? And you got the Packers that usually play really good indoors on turf, right? Yep. You've got a Detroit Lions team that's banged up, but if there's a team that can overcome that, it's Dan Campbell's team. He's got those guys playing scrappy. This is going to be awesome, man.
Just like Ron said, they're going to use all the doubt from everyone to motivate their players that are playing today. Campbell is really good at that. Exactly. He's gonna turn it around and fire these guys up. And I hope the piss is hot all day and all night for the Pack, because I don't think Detroit being banged up is going to make them lay down at all.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys, that's it. We will see you. Let's see, the game kicks off at what time, Tim? Remind me here.
It's 7:25.
7:15, right?
7:15.
All right, so what we're going to do is try to go live. Let's keep it simple here. Lambeau time, 7:15 is your all's kickoff, right? So 6:15 would be an hour. So let's go 5:45 your time, Tim. All right. That'll run us up to 6:45 for the pregame show, and that'll give you about 30 minutes to get settled in for the game. That sound good?
Sounds perfect, man.
So we're going 5:45 Central Time for our pregame show. You guys make sure you hop in here, hang out with us. We're also going to get everybody who was a Patreon member by midnight last night, or a member of one of the 3 tiers, or a YouTube member here by midnight of last night. All you guys are going to go on the Larry McCarron Pinky Wheel. We're going to spin that thing and give away an autographed Romeo Dobbs card tonight. That was donated by the great United Bates. So we're also immediately following the game. If you guys are still up, hop back on. We're going to be going live for the post-game show. We'll be giving you all the news, the stats, the analysis, any injury updates. We'll be going to the pressers, all that stuff. So we'll bring all that to you this evening. It's going to be a late night, Tim, so get you a nap in before kickoff, big dog.
You already know it.
All right, guys, that's it. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Go Pack.
And we go. We're out. Bye, guys.